to speak about. Okay, so okay, I don't know why I have a transcript now automatically as well. What physical lab session is that? You see, is that for environmental engineering or what? What is that thing? What is that? Process heat transfer at the week 4 already? Process heat transfer, really? Okay. How about Monday? Monday at the same time, is it okay? How about Monday? Monday from 9 to 12. Is that fine, or you have another lecture? How about Monday? Have another lecture. Then what is the best date? What is the best day on that part on for next week? Tell me. Is that Tuesday? Tuesday is the best or not? Tuesday? Tuesday, Wednesday? Friday. Friday is the best from that time. Time is okay. Friday from 9 until 1 is okay. So tell me who is okay with Friday. Friday 9 to 1. Text me in the chat box if you're okay with Friday. Everybody in here, text me on Friday. Friday 9 until 1. Who else? How many people is it coming in here and say it's Friday? 17. So I need to get 17 that say Friday. 17 on Friday. What is the THA 1? Oh, take home assignment. Oh, take home assignment 1 is just the materials from week 1 and until week 3. Taha is basically you will get whatever that is presented and given to you on the lecture. For example, I will ask you what is being covered. One questions will be on the concepts, okay? Then one questions probably will be on the mass balance or energy balance, okay? Another one on 2 is just checking your understanding on how you do with the LAM model, okay? So everybody okay 17 on Friday So I move it to Friday at the same time 9 until 1, okay? Based on everybody's in here 17 right? Friday, guys. Okay, let me start my lecture for today. Okay, Tiffany is okay. So we have covered from the week 1 an introductions of the process modeling, okay? And then last week we have covered, yeah, it's gonna be next Friday then, guys, because otherwise how you guys get another conflicting result. So I'll make it next Friday, but I will move the time this after this lecture, okay? Because I also don't know what class should I have, so it will be Friday, guys. Sure. Then remember that also on the week on next week next week, but this is next week for the process modeling. You have a take-home assignment, okay? But for this week Saturday you will have a process control because most of you are, yeah, that will be on this 25 March. Is it okay with you, Usman? Taha? Okay, yeah? How many people already in here? 17. Usman, Taha? Okay, yeah? Okay, good. Okay, so now we're gonna go into, after we develop the LAM model last week, okay? And after we introduce in the first week, then we develop in the LAM model already. And Usman and Taha, you guys, what is the status of your visa, Usman and Taha? Still in process, Are you ready? You need to know that process control is on the week 5, Usman and Taha. Just a heads up, just to tell you. Okay. Just try to follow up when possible, okay, Usman and Taha. Now we're gonna go into after we develop the LAM model, we're gonna go into how to solve the LAM model. just follow up when you can. It's probably difficult as well if there is no news on that thing. Okay. So now we're gonna go into the how to solve the distributed the LAM model basically. Okay, there are two types of the LAM model in here. So we have the steady state LAM model and the transient LAM model. Okay, so the one that we're gonna cover in here for this week is the steady state LAM models. Okay, it will result in a set of algebraic equations which describe the static relations between a set of variables. If you have an algebraic equations, meaning that in order for you to have a unique problem to be solved, then you need to have the same number of equations to the same number of variables for the model to be solved. Okay. So these are the type the two types of the LAM model that we have in here: the linear equation systems and the nonlinear equation system. If you have linear equation systems like this, okay, this can be represented in terms of the matrix. Okay, so that will be Ax is equal to U, and A in here is a matrix of A. Okay, X in here is the matrix of X. Normally this one will be a column factor. Okay, and then you will have a U as well in here, which is a column factor. Okay, in some cases you may also have a nonlinear equation systems, meaning that it's not linear like in here, so it cannot easily be described in terms of the matrix, but rather you have to maintain this kind of a form, where fx is equal to 0. Okay, this in here we will start with the first type of the linear equation system to solve. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the matrix notation. So a matrix in here, you can go and read by yourself the details in here. I'll just go and try to explain to you in as an overview. Okay, A in here is the shorthand notations of the matrix, and then Ij designated individual elements of the matrix. So for example, for this, the one in the A in the row, the component of the matrix in the row 2 and column 2 is will be equal to A22 in here. Okay, so the matrix in figure 8.3 has m rows and n columns. So it has the dimensions of m by n. Matrices with row dimension m equal 1, such as this, are called row vectors. Okay, and the one like this is called the column vectors. If it is a row vector, then it will have a special form like this, how you define that row. Okay, and the matrices where m is equal n are called square matrices, right? It's for a 3 times 3 matrix, you will have something like this. Okay, square matrices are important because this implies that you have the same number of the variables with the same numbers of the equation. So for 3 times 3, meaning you have 3 variables to be solved, and then you have 3 equations. Okay, now a symmetric matrix is the one where the row equal the columns. For example, you have 1 in here, you have 1 in here, you have 2 in here, you have 2 in here, 7 in here, and 7 in here. So Aij is equal Aj1. A diagonal matrix is a square matrix where all elements of the main diagonal, all the components in here, the 3 components in here and the 3 components in here, are equal to 0. An identity matrix is a diagonal matrix where all elements on the main diagonal are equal to 1 in here. The identity matrix has properties similar to unity, that is this equal to this. Okay, an upper triangular matrix is one where all the elements below the main diagonal are 0. So the 3 components in here. A lower triangular matrix is where all elements above the main diagonals are 0. A banded matrix has all elements equal to 0 with the exception of a band centered on the main diagonal. If you see the diagonals in here, then only the components just adjacent to the diagonal components are present in here. This is called the 3 diagonal matrix. Okay, next, the thing that you go into the matrix once you have that thing is called the matrix operating rule. So if you can add every elements, if you have the same dimensions matrix, okay, the subtraction is also the same. So addition and subtraction are commutative and associative. Okay. The multiplication of a matrix by a scalar G is obtained by multiplying every element of A by G. So you need to put it like this. Okay. Now the product of two matrices are important. So there is a requirement for you to do these things. Okay. So meaning that in here you have to have the same inner component. So the same in here. Your n in here has to be equal to the n in here. So the column of the first matrix should be equal to the row of the second matrix in order for you to be able to proceed with the multiplications of the matrix. If they are not the same, then it is impossible because of these things in here. For example, this one is 3 times 2, this one is 2 times 2. So your final matrix will be 3 times 2. Okay, because that will be m equal L, m multiplied by L. So this is how you do that thing. So 3 times 5 plus 1 multiplied by 7 in here. So the matrix multiplication is associative and distributive, but not commutative. Okay, the order of matrix multiplication is thus important. Okay. Now, if although multiplication is possible, matrix division is not a defined operation. Normally, what you do is instead of dividing a matrix, you multiply by another matrix that you call is an inverse of A. Okay, so this is how you define the inverse of a 2 times 2 matrix. Okay, and then we have another operation that we call a transpose. A transpose in here is meaning you are just changing the column with the row and row with the column. So whatever in here is move into here, in here move into here move into here. Okay. So if you have the column vector, if you transpose that thing, it will be a row vector. Okay, so this is just an overview. So the slides that I put in here is quite lengthy, but the major point in here is basically to give you a little bit of overview into this matrix, because matrix is very important element in MATLAB. We also have a permutation matrix, okay, an identity matrix with the row and columns interchange in here. If we left multiply a matrix A by this matrix, then it will switch the corresponding row of A. If we write multiplying A by P, this will switch the corresponding columns. Okay. The final matrix multiplication that we will have utility in our discussion is augmentation. So this augmentation is basically something that you add on the original column in here. So this is 3 times 6 dimensional matrix in here. This will have a use if we want to track the operations, because as you do the operations on this matrix on the left hand side of this line, you also do the same operations on the right hand side in here, right? So how the next slide that we have in here is showing you how to convert this equation, these 3 equations on the 8.5 into a matrix form. So we can express this in terms of this 8.6, right? So where this A in here is equal to this 3 times 3, your B in here is equal to the, actually this is a column vector, but if you transpose that, then become a row vector. Okay, and then your X is also a column vector consisting of X1, X2, and X3. But if you transpose that thing, that will become basically a row vector. Okay, everybody clear it up to this point? No questions that you need to ask or anything? No? Okay. So how did you get the solutions for that? Because you want to solve for the value of the X, right? Because X is basically the value of the unknown. So how you do that thing is basically you can multiply the left hand side by the inverse of A. At the same time, you also multiply the inverse of A on the right hand side. Then this inverse multiplied by A become X. Okay, so in essence, your X will be equal to the inverse of the A multiplied by the B. Okay, so everybody knows this very well. So this is supposed to be easy in MATLAB. You can do these things easily. Now, we go a little bit into the MATLAB. MATLAB is actually an abbreviation in the beginning of the matrix laboratory, because MATLAB, the way that MATLAB is working is it basically uses a lot of matrix, and if you can operate, or you can put in your logic or your computation operations in terms of the matrix, then it will be what MATLAB is for. So it's the best if you use matrix operation, but it's not also limited with the on the matrix as well. It can also go beyond matrix as well. Okay, the strength of the MATLAB comes in terms of its capability to do numeric computation, advanced graphic and visualization, and also a high-level programming language. And MATLAB also has so many tools, integrated toolboxes that can cover different specific area of engineering applications, such as process control, neural network optimization, signal processing, and symbolic mathematics. Like I showed you, right, in the process control, your project one is based on the MATLAB coding. So that MATLAB coding is used to simulate how a proportional and integral controller is embedded into the temperature control of the continuous stir tank reactor. Okay, where you basically have a mass balance, a component mass balance, and then you have the energy balance for your reactor, and also an energy balance for your jacket. Now, this is basically what you can do into your MATLAB. So I'm just putting an example in here to make it easy for you. If you have time, you go into the MATLAB and put these things in here. If you, like I showed you already in the introductions, if you put in this symbol, semicolon, then it will move these three components into the next row. Okay, but if you don't put anything in between, then it will be put as the next one, as the next component in the same row. Okay, and you can basically just transpose this by adding this superscript symbols in here. Okay, these things is the same, that you can do these things x, y, z, and then you can add a plus b. You can subtract b from c. You can multiply a with b, because a is 3 times 3 and b is 3 times 3. Okay, or alternatively you can multiply component by component. So if you multiply component by component, then you have to have a dot and then followed by the multiplication operations in here. So it's different. Okay, if you multiply by this with multiply per component, it's different. If multiply per component, like you multiply a with b, then it's 1 multiplied by 8, you have 8. 5 multiplied by 6, you have 30. This one is different with this multiplication. With this multiplication, meaning you have to follow the same operation that we show in here. Okay. And also you can also set up another 2 times 3 matrix. And if you see that 3 times 3 matrix cannot be multiplied by 2 times 3 because the inner dimension does not match. So 3 is not equal to 2. Then MATLAB will return back the error informations in your command window. But if you multiply 2 times 3, 2 times 3 multiplied by 3 times 3, then it will be possible. Then you will have a 2 times 3 matrix. Okay, and then you can also find easily in MATLAB the inverse of a particular matrix, right? If you multiply A with its inverse, then you will have an identity matrix. You can also make in identity matrix I equal 3, and you can make a permutation matrix and check. If you want to switch the rows, then you multiply P before A. And likewise, if you want to move the column, you multiply P. You multiply A with P in here. This is how you make an augmented matrix. And if you see in the MATLAB, this common size is basically giving you the number of the row and the number of the column, right? So if you have two equations, for example, these equations and these equations, the easiest way to solve is basically you can plot these equations in the Cartesian coordinate, and then another equations in here you can plot also in the Cartesian plot. Then the points where the two linear curve intersect each other is where the solution is. Okay, so that's how it is. And then this is basically giving you different cases where it's difficult to find a unique solution. For example, in the A in here, because the line is located at the different locations, it doesn't touch each other, so you will have no solutions. And then the second one is in here you have an infinite solution because these two lines are basically similar to each other. And then the other line where it's basically the solutions is intersecting at more than one point basically. Okay, so it's very difficult to detect visually. So this one will give you a large error. This kind of solutions where you don't have a really specific solution is called an ill-conditioned systems. Okay, so we can solve this three set of equations using something called the determinants. Okay, this determinants is basically showing you how they are being solved. However, the best way to solve a matrix is through the Gauss elimination. In Gauss elimination is basically we use a forward elimination followed by the back substitution. So this is how it works. So imagine you have these three, the components of n equations. Okay, what we're gonna do in here is basically we try to make all these equations in here into this kind of a matrix. Okay, where all the components below the diagonal elements become 0. Okay, so that we know the value of the first x in here. Okay, the last x in here. Once we have the components of the last x in here known, then we can back substitute into these equations in here to get these components. The next component is x2. Okay, once we know x3 and x2, then we can back substitute into the first equations in here to be able to find the value of the x1. So everything will be working like this. So what you need to do is basically you need to subtract this. You multiply by a21 divided by a11 in order for you to get the same value with a21 in here. Then you basically subtract these equations in here with this one. Okay, once you get that thing, then you will get these things in here. Okay, then you do the same thing with this third one. So you do it with this and this until you get this thing in here. I will not go into the details in here, but I think you will be able to understand the logic of this easily if you read the things in detail. Okay, so we have two main steps in here. The first one is the forward elimination of unknowns, and then the next one is the back substitution. So these are the examples. Okay, I think you can go and check my recorded video to show that how I do that thing on my. I have recorded that thing through I think in the previous years, and I think I have uploaded that into the Canvas, so you can replay back again that things to see how it's being done, the Gauss elimination. So you have these three equations in here. The first thing that you need to do is basically eliminate this component in here and this component in here, so you will get this. Then afterward, using this one, you eliminate these terms in here, so you have these three the matrix where the components lower than diagonal is 0. Then you will be able to find your x3. Your x3 will be equal to a certain value. You back substitute to here and you back substitute to here to get the x1. The thing that are very important in here is for you to resubstitute back your x1, x2, and x3 as a check to make sure that you recover these equations again in the beginning. Okay, so it's always very important for an engineer to always cross-check again to make sure that they get the same value that are defined in the beginning. Okay, so far any questions from this Gauss elimination, guys? Everybody is with me still? Or because it's almost lunchtime, so feel a bit sleepy like me, ready? So now we have okay, yeah, good. You can go a little bit away from your table, Jason. It's okay. I just get my tea a little bit in here, and that's allowable. So we have gone through the discussions in the lecture 2 of the 6-plate absorption column, right? We have developed that in the previous lecture note. So now in here we would like to solve the model of these things in here. Okay, so remember we have the first one is coming from the component mole balance. The second one in here comes from your thermodynamics, and then we take the simplest assumptions in that we take out of the if I'm in there, I will be happy to share you my tea bag, Clarence, but unfortunately I'm not a fan of coffee, so I don't have a coffee bag. If we have this thermodynamics in here, is the simplest things that we can do to basically picture. Well, I don't have Mamak in here easily outside of my house because I don't really go into the office today. Okay. So why one in here is just a linear equations. So if you combine all these component balances together with the equilibrium relationship, then you have 6 equations in here with the 6 unknowns, which is x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, x6. Then you will ask me, sir, how about x0? No, x0 in here is given already. I told you already on the last week lecture that this is defined. So we normally, this is a part of the problem. So either we put in a pure water with x0 equal to 0, or we use something that a recycled value. It can be something that has a smaller value, and then we know also the value of the y7 from the problem description. Okay, imagine if we are dealing with the process where we need to scrub the concentration of the sulfur dioxide, of the concentration of the hydrogen sulfide of a particular emissions. So we need to scrub it using the pure water, or if the pure water is too expensive, then we recycle some of the things in here. We recycle it back again. Okay, not just something that comes from here, but something that has been treated again to reduce the value of the sulfur dioxide of the hydrogen sulfide from the liquid phase, in order for it to be efficient, for this process to be efficient. Because we want to make this one lower in concentrations of that particular component, and therefore we need to have something that are very low in concentrations in terms of this particular component, right? Now this has been clearly written in here. So this is mole fraction in the starting liquid, mole fraction in the starting vapor. We can add in another simplifying assumption such that the B equals 0. Then that gives us these things in here, which can be written on the matrix form in this form in here. Okay, so guys, this is very important in here, that you need to visualize that in here, in this component in here, is actually the same with these things in here. Okay, because the way that the matrix is working for the first row in here is that L minus L plus VA multiplied by x1 plus VA multiplied by x1 is equal minus L x0. Okay, to get this one. On the second row is L multiplied by x1 minus L plus VA multiplied by x2 plus VA multiplied by x3 is equal to 0 in here. Okay, so this has the same form with this form in here, and this is the so-called banded matrix. Okay, so this one is similar with your 3 diagonal matrix basically. Okay guys, everybody gets it up to this point? Okay. So what you need to do is easy. You can either use you multiply the inverse of the A multiplied by B, or you can just use a left division operations to get the value of your X. Okay. So how do we solve these things? So the first example is we need to set up a typical set of the parameter. Okay. We put in an A value of 0.72. This one is coming from the thermodynamics. It has to mimic that it has to physically relevant. Okay. Your V is having this value in here, 66.7 kmol per minute. Your L is 40.8 kilomole per minute. We want to solve for the two cases. For X equals 0, so imagine that you are putting in a pure water and you have, let's say, whatever the whatever the mole fraction of that component that you want to scrub is 0.2, the other one is 0.3. So this is the solutions for each of the three. Okay, for X1 you will get 0.0614 and this is 0.2547. Okay, if you put in 0.3, then obviously your X1 will be larger than in here, than the respective in here. This is if you want to do the longer version. If this you don't want to think and do too much, what you can do is you can just type in everything. So in essence in here is this row in here is basically specifying the value of the A, V, and L. This one. Okay. This one is just giving the initial condition. It's basically specifying these things in here. And then you create another, basically variables. This Y7 is having a two components. Okay, this is a matrix of two components. The first one is basically 0.2, the second one is 0.3, right? Then you are creating, in the first time you want to create a matrix of 6 times 6. So you create 0, 6. You are essentially want to create these things in here. Okay, a matrix of 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 rows, 6 column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then you are inputting the component one by one by specifying it. So for A at row 1, column 1, it will be equal to minus L plus VA. A at the component of A at the row 2, column 1 is equal to L. You can see it in here, right? This and here. So you specify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16 component, you type it one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's how you put it in here. So these things is something that for those people that does not want to think too much, just want to make it easy, use this one. The next one that you define is the B1 factor, which is this one. Okay, so this one is you create another factor of 0, 6, 1. The reason that you create this component, this zeros matrix is to make the storage component, the storage space for that particular matrix. Okay, this you don't have to put in, but it will make the code execute faster if you add these things in here. Okay, then additionally you just need to specify the two components in here, the first one and then the last one in here. Okay, and you do it for the two different cases, because you have two different cases. For this one you use a B1, for this one you use a B2, right? Then you can use either a matrix inversion, or you can use the Gaussian eliminations or the left division to solve that thing. Then this will be the solutions that you get, which is supposed to be the same with the solutions in here. Guys, up to this point, understand? Huh? Up to this point, I hope you understand. So this is if you just want to use as an easy. Now, I would like to encourage you to start those that say to me that they are worried about MATLAB. Just copy and paste this thing into the MATLAB. Name it as lin2-1.m and try whether the code that I put in here is running or not. Okay, that's the thing that is important for you to try. You need to make sure that it's running. Now this is very lengthy, right? You have too many line in here, but you can replace that thing simply with something like this, where this one is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's just 10 line of code. I want to run the MATLAB coding in here, but I'm not too sure whether we already have an access to that thing or not. Probably not. So if you have the MATLAB in your computer, then you can try these things and see how to use that thing. Okay, start using MATLAB. I try to see first whether I can use this thing or not. If I cannot use this thing, then I will not be able to demonstrate to you. But I have contacted Usha, okay, to check whether I can whether we have these things already or not, because I tried to use my Swinburne one, also not working last time. But you can always go into the you can always install the crack version 1, or you can go into the lab, into the Open Computer Lab that have a MATLAB. So I still don't have access to that thing yet as well. So it's not being resolved by Usha apparently. Okay, so I cannot do much. I try to show it to you, or if you guys want to ask me, also we can have face-to-face sessions on the MATLAB. Okay, always happy to take up your questions. So it's the same. Like this one is just specifying that value x0 and 0.2. Okay. The difference in here is that we creating this vector in here through a special way. Okay, the detailed explanation on this is given on the recorded video as well. I think you can see it on the recorded video as well. So what you do in here is basically creating 1s, 1, 5. So if you create 1, 1, 5, is basically you're creating a matrix consisting of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, and that matrix is being put into the diagonal. But you see this one is -1. So meaning you are moving that -1 component into an off diagonal component by 1. As a result, you will have a 6 times 6 matrix in here, 6 times 6 matrix like in here. If you have 6 times 6, you are creating this component in here, the L. This is something that is creating by ILO. So ILO is basically a matrix that consists of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 in here. Okay. Then you are also creating another component, another matrix again called this I6. I6 in here is basically an identity matrix consisting of element of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 on the main diagonal element. As you can see in here that you have a particular arrangement. You see that all the components in the diagonal elements in here is -L plus VA. And just the component in here is L. The component in here is consisting of VA. So we are using this particular arrangement to do the manipulations of the matrix. So we can simply create this matrix in here easily using this particular instruction. Okay, using this particular instructions in here. And then we can easily create this U in here. Okay, we can easily create this. This is your column factor in here, right? This column factor in here is what is creating. Then you do left division. How do we know that this gives you the same result? Because the result that are given is the same in here. If you compare it with the previous one, the result is the same, except that we are dealing with the much shorter coding. So coding is a skill that you can master easily, not easily, I would say that you can master after you keep on trying and exploring and learning. Okay, the same thing. What you need to do is with the 0.3 is you just need to change the value of the y7 in here, and you should end up with the same solutions with these solutions in here that you get from the 0.38 to 0. So far, before I go into the next example, which is a bit more comprehensive, I would say. Anybody has any questions? Alvin, Amanda, Anupaja? or Sandy probably. Clarence, Daniel, Eva, James, Jason, Jonathan, Juliana, Cising, Michael, Taha, Usman, Selena, Tiffany, Yusi, Wongyo, Weising. I see everybody is in here. I just want to confirm the take-home assignment one next week will be performed on Friday. If there nobody has an issue, that will be performed from 9 o'clock in the morning up to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Okay. If anybody has issue, then let me know now. Okay. Nobody has an issue. So far okay. You guys. You said you're worried about MATLAB, but in here is I show you that MATLAB is actually not something that you guys need to worry about, right? In here, you still worry with MATLAB, guys? Okay. If everybody started with their project one already, I would encourage you to go start communicating with your project one, guys. I mean, week 7 is not far away from now. It's basically already week 3, so you have week 4. Week 5, week 6, and tuition week. So it's not really too far from now. So you really need to start with your project one as soon as possible. I think by last week I already distributed already. So you should go into the MATLAB. Okay. So this one is no everything is clear up to this point. Okay. Then in particular situations, if you are wondering about whether your systems is may provide a singularities or how good is your system solution is, what you can do is you can check using an arcon comment. Okay, so that thing is you can do using this rrank and arcon. So generally the arcon value that are much far from 0 is better. Okay, so if you put in the matrix of A in here, you will get that the arcon is 0.0416, which is quite good for your problem statement. Okay, now who is taking the process mass transfer already at this semester? Anybody take the process mass transfer already, or that will be next semester? Has anybody get the mass transfer a little bit or not? No? Alvin, you did mass transfer already, right? Clarence not yet. How about Yusi? Yusi not yet. Jonathan ready with me, right? Last semester already. Jonathan with me. Unfortunately, process modeling and control, process modeling and optimization is covering so many model as well, and I cannot just go and keep my coverage into the heat transfer only or into the momentum transport, because you guys need to know much more than that in order for you to understand what the process modeling is about. So I have to introduce some concept even before you learn about the process mass transfer. Yep, supposed to be Clarence, I think. That sounds about right, I think. But we will go a little bit into the McCabe-Thiele method in here. So McCabe-Thiele method in here is basically showing you how to calculate the number of the stages needed to achieve a particular separations needed for a binary distillation column that are ideal. Okay, so McCabe in here is coming from the name of the William McCabe. That one is an author of the textbook in unit operations. And Thiele in here is also coming from the number of a famous chemical engineer. He is actually, if you go into the mass transfer later on, you will know that there is a ratio between the reaction with the diffusion. Then you will come with the dimensionless number called a Thiele number. Okay, these two guys are actually get their educations. I think these two guys are educated in America. And then I think, if not wrong, TL is educated in MIT, if I'm not wrong. Okay, and both of them are actually heavily involved with the research in chemical engineering. I think both of them having a PhD in chemical engineering. Okay, so imagine that you have a simple distillation column with a total condenser. So what you meant by total condenser is whatever that goes in will be totally condensed. In real condition, this will not be possible actually. Okay, so if in real situation, what we will have in here is actually a partial condenser. So a partial condenser will be another equilibrium trace stage on top of your number 2 stage in here. Okay, but for the sake of simplicity, we just have a total condenser and you have a reboiler in here, right? So imagine that you have a particular component consisting of a 2. When we said a binary is meaning a 2-component system. Okay, it can be anything. For example, a mixture of A and B. If A is a volatile component, meaning that it has a lower boiling point, it will be enriched in terms of A, so that your distillate is basically containing mostly A, and your B is containing mostly B, because your B will be having a higher boiling point. So the distillation working on the principles of enriching the volatile components on the top and enriching the less volatile components on the bottom. Okay, so the rest you will have 2 components in here, the distillate and the bottom components in here. So a chemical engineer will split this distillation column into 2 different balances, like the same case with the distillation column. One is you use a mass balance, the other one is you use a thermodynamics. Correct? That's how a chemical engineer will design this kind of a unit operation. In terms of the absorption, you have a thermodynamics and you couple it with the mass balance. So for this particular problem, we are splitting these two into this distillation column into 2 major portions. The top components in here, okay, and the bottom column in here. The things that we split on the top in here is called the rectifying section of the distillation column. Okay, the reflux ratio in here is defined as R equal L divided by D, because these things representing how much you put in back into your column relative to the one that you take out of the column. Okay, the operating line for the rectifying section can be represented by these things in here. If you want to express this in terms of the reflux ratio with the X and the XT, then you will ask me, sir, how did you do these things in here? So you go back into the additional materials. I will not go into the details in here, but I think in one of my recording video, I have shown the details of these things in here, okay, including all the equations that are needed for you to understand how we derive these equations in here and how the MATLAB code is working. So this goes back into these lecture notes that I took from somebody else. Okay, this is the so-called MATLAB graphical method. I think you will get this more in detail in your process mass transfer, but I think you get it much more detail already from now on, because this is a part of your process modeling anyway. So if you want to figure out how you're gonna do that thing, this is the mass balance on the whole column. Okay, on the whole column basically. So if you want to do the whole, you want to make this boundary on the fit with the distillate and the bottom, this is what you need to do. Okay, if you want to make it on the rectifying section, then this is your additional materials, how you're gonna do that thing. So basically you are making the mass balance over these boundaries, the sketch in here, whereas it consisting of the overall mass balance and then the light key mole balance. Then you use this one, and then you do a little bit of mathematical manipulations, and you will get these equations in here. Okay, everybody, I hope you are clear with me up to this particular points. Everything has been given to you, but you need to figure out the details by yourself. Okay, so these are the rectifying column. Then we can go into the stripping sections of the column, right? This is the stripping section of the column where you have reboiler. If you make the same mass balance like in here, what essentially you will get is this operating column that is expressed, this operating line that is expressed in terms of the reboiler build-up ratio. Now, the build-up ratio is also the same with the reflux ratio in that this basically representing the ratio between what is being put back into the column with what is being taken out of the column, right? So this is the same with what you need to get in here. So this one is the stripping column. That one is the rectifying, right? This is the range of the reflux ratio. So this equilibrium curve you get from the thermodynamics. Okay, so you need to do an experimentals in your thermodynamic lab. You will get something like this that basically tells you if you boil. That depends whether you are doing it isothermal or you are doing it isobaric. Okay, if you are doing it isobaric, you will have a different set of the relationship in here. So for a particular concentrations of the liquid in terms of the key component, you will end up with a certain value of your vapor mole fraction in here. Okay, but the thing that you will get basically from your mass balance for chemical engineer is this particular operating balance in here. Okay, this particular operating balance is the one that you get from these particular equations in here. This is what giving you the operating line for the rectifying section. Okay, so how about we go into the stripping section? So the stripping section in here is the same. Now this is a mistake that I find from that I have to correct, and you guys need to check everything. That's why after you go into the lecture, it's very important that you always check again everything to make sure that everything is correct, right? If you do these things correctly, you will get this one. And these things in here is giving you the operating line in here. Okay, this operating line in here. Okay, so if you then you will have a set of the relationship where you depending if your fit is basically a total liquid, then it will go down. If it is a saturated liquid, it will go down as well. If it is partially vaporized, then the vapor fraction will go up, the liquid will go down. If it is a saturated vapor, it will go up. If it is a superheated vapor, it will go up. That will affect the sloping in here. The sloping in here. Okay. So if I go back again in here, in this particular, in my original slides, then after you figure out the stripping section, then you will be able to go and basically check these conditions in here. This is basically characterized by the parameter Q. The Q in here is the ratio of the increase in molar reflux rate across the feed stage to the molar feed rate. So basically from the this one is basically just expressing what will happen as you go from the bottom to the top, from the stripping section to the rectifying section. Okay, and this is also where you can derive the Q line equation. All of this has been given already in my additional materials in here. So you guys want to go back into my derivation for those that are interested to find how to do these things, and I'm happy to explain to you if you are willing to go into the details of these things equation. I have tried to cover this, how I derive these things, and I have uploaded this into my Canvas. So the things that you need to understand is how you need to cross-check it again, review these things, and see how you get these equations in here. I have gone in details to make sure that everything is understandable, right? So this one is, we have these things from the rectifying operating line and the Q line equation. We have this equation. Then you can rewrite the stripping operating line in terms of these things as well. Okay, and then you can also solve the y in terms of the relative volatility and the value of the x as well. So this example in here is based on an ideal situations that you get in here. Okay, so this line in here is giving you the y, which is 0, 0.1 to 1. So this one will be a factor consisting of 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, blah 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 until 1. Then this y is equal this y. Then you calculate this x using these particular equations in here. Okay, as I write in here, how do you get your x is coming from this particular equations in here. Okay, I think I should put it somewhere in here. You just need to cross check which part of that I put in here. I go quite detailed, I think, if I'm not wrong, in here. I just make the additional notes on the things that are important only, because this lecture notes from the University of Utah is already very good already, so I don't need to give too much addition again. But the things that are important in here, I give it in this particular slides in here. Okay, just cross check whether what I make everything is correct. If there is any mistakes, then you let me know and we can correct it together. Right, this coming from here, and then you get this. You basically plotted this xq in here. You get this xq in here and yq in here. And then this one is you plot xe, ye. This basically plots the equilibrium curve. And this one is plotting the diagonal 45 degrees line. So it starts from a point of 0, 0. It stops at the point of 1, 1. This is how you set up the color. Okay. And this one is plotting the operating line for the stripping, fit, and rectifying section. This MATLAB code in here is a function code. So you need to give 5 inputs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 input in here, and it will give you these 2 output. Okay. I think I will stop my lecture here, and then I will continue again on the, I think if not wrong, on Thursday, right? If not wrong, on Thursday, to give you some time to digest. And anybody has a concern up to this particular point? Why my photo, my line seems to be frozen just now? So is anybody have any questions up to this particular point? Alvin, Amanda, Anupaja, Clarence, Daniel, Eva, James, Jason, Jonathan, Juliana, Chising, Michael, Taha, Usman, Selena, Tiffany, Yusi, Ngong Yo, Wei Xing. Is it not too technical, or everything is okay up to this particular point? Sure. No question, huh? Okay, then in that case, then I will stop the recording up to this particular point, guys.